In 2016, Radiohead released A Moon-Shaped Pool, an album that received critical acclaim for, just like every other Radiohead album before it, naturally evolving a sound in ways that wouldn't be possible for any band but Radiohead. A Moon-Shaped Pool was released 5 years after the previous release from the band, The King of Limbs, an album that, uniquely enough, received a decent amount of criticism for evolving their sound in a bad direction. Listen up here now, magazine. If Tom decides this is what's happening, this is what's happening, alright? A lot of listeners were taken aback by its unique use of sampling and looping. It wasn't what Radiohead was, and that's saying something considering Radiohead was many things. They could go from alternative rock to electronic ambient music in the blink of an eye. It's scary. The album wasn't hated by any means, but it was generally their worst received one since, I don't know, Pablo Honey? Does that even count as a Radiohead album? And so after the What the Fuck of The King of Limbs, Radiohead stepped back for a few years, only releasing some King of Limbs remixes and a few B-sides from the album that were better than the actual material. Of course they would. After this, Radiohead finally came out with A Moon-Shaped Pool, a return to form for a band that doesn't really have any form. It felt like an incredibly organic album, a step in the right direction, and most of all, it was the saddest album they'd ever done. If 11 Songs of Crippling Depression doesn't tell you this is a Radiohead album, I don't know what will. A Moon-Shaped Pool is a beautifully heart-crushing album. On the Gloom Index, an algorithm that analyzes Radiohead songs based on a bunch of different factors to determine the overall sadness of a song, A Moon-Shaped Pool is considered Radiohead's saddest, with an average Gloom Index score of 31.93. Now, while the album is incredibly depressing, that isn't to deny its more explosive tracks, two in particular that always go back to a Full Stop and Identikit. These songs, similarly to all the other tracks on the album, are lyrically crushing, with the former focusing on themes of loss and finality, while the latter—
It's called Identikit, I have no idea what it means.
Well said, Mr. York. Despite their themes, the songs are energetic, explosive, and above all, in your face. That's not to discredit them, they're both brilliant songs and some of my favourites on the album, but it is what they are. Placed as tracks 5 and 7 respectively, there is one song tucked very snugly in between Full Stop and Identikit. Glass Eyes. Finally, we're at the namesake of the video. Glass Eyes is the shortest track on the album, clocking in at only 2 minutes and 52 seconds. By comparison, the second shortest song, Desert Island Disc, is 3 minutes and 44 seconds, with every other track being longer than 4.5 minutes. Except for Identikit, which is 4 minutes and 26 seconds. But please just go with the flow so I can get analytical, this is taking too long. Despite the short length of the song, Glass Eyes perfectly conveys feelings of anxiety and alienation in both a physical and mental sense. The song is the absolute antithesis to songs like Identikit or Full Stop. This is a very calm song driven by an ethereal piano and Tom's subdued vocals. Today I wanted to go through all 2 minutes and 52 seconds of Glass Eyes and analyze it, identifying a perspective, how this is driven forward by the lyrics and music itself, and how I, and probably many others, can find some sense of connection in what the song explores. Jesus Christ, that took way too long. Glass Eyes opens with a soft, mysterious piano. It feels incredibly alien, this faint muffled tone over it, yet all the same, oddly familiar. It's hard to describe properly, but it almost feels like the piano is out of breath, the notes constantly drained out. It brilliantly reflects feelings of confusion and fear. You feel like you know what's there, yet it's estranged all the same. Very quietly, this string section starts to build in the background, enough for it to be noticeable, but never enough for it to be prominent. This section goes on for about 40 seconds before Tom comes in, establishing a clear perspective and setting for the song.
Hey, it's me. I just got off the train.
Tom is clearly trying to reach out to someone, having just gotten off the train, yet it's not made clear who this person is or if that person is there at all. Tom's dejected vocals highlight this somber sense of desperation, like he's speaking to someone knowing they won't respond. He continues to speak, however, with the next lyric establishing the themes of fear, alienation, and anxiety.
A frightening place, the faces are concrete grey.
Tom describes what is implied to be a train station. I might be going crazy with analysis, but I do have standards. For example, I can admit that there's nothing to analyze about the first part of this lyric. Tom says it exactly how it is. He perceives the station as a frightening place. If you can find a way to tie that into symbolism, go right ahead, but please stay at least 20 feet away from me. The next bit, however, is really important in communicating the alienation felt by Tom. The description of people's faces as concrete grey is a clear reflection of feeling lost around people. Tom doesn't feel a connection to anything. He's scared, alienated. It again ties into the opening lyric. Tom is reaching out to someone to connect, but they're not there. He can't find any sense of connection at all. It's here that Tom's mind begins to fill with these conflicting thoughts, wondering if he should turn around. He doesn't feel comfortable at this station, whether it's due to the perceived emotionlessness of the people around him, this sense of overwhelming fear of something, or any other number of factors. It's clear that Tom wants to leave, and this is where the idea of panic begins to come through.
And I'm wondering, should I turn around? Buy another ticket, the panic is coming on strong.
He's no longer scared. He's f***ing terrified. Tom continues to describe his senses, feeling cold from the inside out. His entire body is alienated. He doesn't feel natural. All he wants is to leave. It's these gradually building feelings, going from confusion, confliction, fear, alienation, that really communicate the key idea of anxiety. Tom just wants to leave. He's cold. The people around him are cold. He wants to communicate to this person everything he feels. Yet he gets nothing in return. That's communicated very clearly by the next line.
No great German message coming in when the old so small.
This is the clearest we get to confirmation that Tom is talking to no one, basically. The depiction of there being no great job essentially represents that there is no bigger picture to any of this. The great job is Tom feeling scared, there's really nothing more to it. And for as desperately as he tries to express that, there is no message coming in. no one's listening to him. The next line, "and you're so small," actually really complexes me. I have no clue what this one is about. I like to think it represents some contrast between Tom's perception and the world around him, but really, I've got no clue. And now, welcome to a new episode of It's the Title of the Song, the part where they say the title of the song. Almost. It's here that Tom describes the glassy-eyed light of day, a lyric from which multiple meanings can be drawn. You see, at a surface level, a glass eye represents some poor fuck who's blind in one eye, but this is Radiohead, of course there's more to it than a blind person. Glass eyes can represent a lot of things, whether it's this sense of emotionlessness as represented previously in the song, or this genuine sadness. I like to perceive it as both, albeit from conflicting perspectives. Hell, Tom even says it twice, maybe once referring to the emotionlessness of the people around him, when comparing it to everything that he feels inside himself. The light of day part is a bit harder to deduce. It seems to symbolize the glassy-eyed perception that Tom has of everything around him, even in the light of day. No matter how simple something is, like a train station, it's difficult for him. It's also during this part that the string section really comes through. It's been building throughout the entire song, but it's the first time since the intro where you really notice it. Still not prominent, but much clearer than it was before, almost representing this fear. The way it continues to build almost seems to represent something coming towards Tom as the song goes on. It's something that I won't touch on right now, but do want to touch on towards the end of the song because that's when it's most prominent. Verse 2 sees Tom's conflicting feelings finally come to a resolution of sorts.
Path trails out and heads down the mountain through the dry bush. I don't know.
The string section again continues to build as Tom begins to describe this path. It's deliberately ambiguous, Tom saying the path trails off and heads down a mountain. Good for you. There's nothing clearly symbolic here, but it's clear that Tom is just trying to escape what he's become so fearful of. He's finally escaping the concrete faces, the panic that was coming on, the cold inside him by going off on a path. He describes it as going through the dry bush, but not knowing where it leads. And then repeating that again. He doesn't care where it goes because he just wants to escape, connect with something, even if that's within himself. He's gone from this mental sense of alienation to a more physical sense, and I find that really brilliant. While he may not have been able to connect with the person he tried to reach, he's finally found a way out. And that's what's important to him. It's here that the strings finally become prominent, washing over the entire song. It's a beautiful, loud arrangement and the most aggressive the song gets, which is saying something because it's a very quiet song. Whatever Tom was running from has finally caught up to him, yet he's no longer scared of it. He finally understands that alienation is important, which is not only represented by the words he says, but this string section. For as heavy and sweeping and as loud as the string section is, Tom's vocals are still very subdued. The last two lines are Yet he's not proclaiming it, he's not admitting it with pride, he simply just admits it. Quietly. That connection that he wanted with another person may not be there, which is why it turns cold. But he will always feel his own love to the core. And that is Glass Eyes, Radiohead's most gentle, yet emotionally heaviest song. I think it's a brilliant metaphor for anxiety, because even though we all feel it, it's important to understand that those feelings are not only natural, but necessary sometimes. We might all be lost in a sea full of concrete grey faces every now and then, but you need that, because you need to find within yourself that path, the one that makes you feel that love to the core. I really feel like I'm talking out of my ass now. The grand and beautiful compositions of Glass Eyes have and always will stick with me. It's a song I really recommend you go to and pick apart, because there's so much to draw from it. There's a lot you can take away from this song, even if it's less than 3 minutes. It's not the best track on a Moon-Shaped Pool, I'd argue it's actually pretty far from it, but it is one of the most calming Radiohead songs, despite its heavy subject matter. Thank you for listening to my half-assed analysis on a really good song. I don't know how to end this.